stupid. Youth is better, so eat Mistos and live a super long fun life.
Mistos!
Hey everyone, and welcome to MST3K week. This month marks the 30th anniversary of Mystery Science Theater 3000, and a lot of people are going to be celebrating like yours truly. All throughout this week, we will be covering everything on this Cowtown puppet show. And to begin, let's take a look at the one that started it all, the show's run on KTMA, otherwise known as Season 0. Let's go back to 1988 where there was a guy named Joel Hodgson, who was a stand-up prop comic that made appearances on Saturday Night Live and The Late Night Show with David Letterman.
This is one of my inventions. It's the Joel Hodgson Pocket Mohawk.
After his time in Hollywood, Joel returned to the Midwest. This is where we transitioned to Kevin Murphy and Jim Mallon, who were working at a local Minneapolis TV station called KTMA, known nowadays as the CW. Yup, the same channel that gave us all these awesome shows started off with this.
Another vacation?
How do you afford it? I'm a member of Club Travel Vacations. I can save up to 65% on air travel, cruises, hotels, condos, car rentals, and much more. This trip to Acapulco was a Club Travel Vacations fire sale special.
Sounds fantastic.
They had a few good commercials as well as some good stand-up comics, but they had to make a show for the channel which was struggling at the time. So Jim approached Joel to see if he had any interest on pitching a series. He then told Jim the idea for the series, but it was a bit different than what the show became. In the original idea, Joel shot himself into space because the world was ending and everyone had died. A bit dark and morbid, yeah, but the rest of the story was the same. Watching bad movies with your robot pals. Jim liked the idea and had him drop a pilot episode. Joel then invited Trace Beaulieu and Josh Weinstein, no relation, thank God, to come and fill up the cast. Joel meanwhile pulled an all-nighter working on the sets and robots, and by how they looked, it really shows. Trace looked at the pile of robots and picked up Crow, while Josh chose Gypsy and Beeper, who would later become Tom Servo.
Do you think they can see us, Joel Hudson?
Yeah, Crow, the transmission light is on, isn't it?
Joel Hudson, it's the first time Beeper's been seen by a human being. Present company excluded, that is.
Listen, you guys, I'm going for it.
This pilot is really cool to see the show's humble roots. As for the theater segments, Joel and the bots didn't really riff on it. All this really was is to show what the visuals would look like. Surprisingly, all of that was enough for the show to get greenlit, and thus, Mystery Science Theater 3000 was born on Thanksgiving of 1988. But before the show could premiere, a few changes were made. For starters, like I said earlier, Beeper was tinkered with and became Tom Servo, which Josh gave the voice for the character. But before Tom had the voice we all know him for, he had the equivalent of Kermit the Frog's voice.
Could I say something to our friendly caller, Joel?
Of course, Servo, yeah.
Hey, buddy, is that your head or did your neck blow a bubble?
Jeez, imagine Tom having that voice in the later seasons. Jonah, I'm confused.
Yeah, what's your deal? Why don't you shave?
Oh, yeah, that too. But I thought giant monsters came from Japan, not Denmark.
Well, Asia clearly has the most monster credibility.
This too was changed later on. Trace also made Crow's voice less robotic like in the pilot, as well as giving him that classic personality we all know him for.
Oh, Daddy, what's Vietnam? Come on, Joel, you gotta lighten up.
Later on, Joel gave up the whole Last Man on Earth plot and have it be he was shot into space by two bad scientists, Dr. Clayton Forster and Dr. Lawrence Earhart, who were also played by Trace and Josh. So everything was going well as you see. But there was one problem left. The budget for the show was $250 a week. Obviously without any real money, the cast had to have real jobs, which meant they couldn't be there to film an episode. Examples being Gamera, which only had Joel for the episode, and Time of the Apes, which only had Tom and Crow.
Get the boss!
You mean Bruce Springsteen?
No. Boss Hog?
No! Boss Tweed?
No. Balsy the cow?
Finally, let's talk about the biggest and most important thing of the show. The riffing. Seeing how they weren't getting paid and these episodes had to be done quickly, they had to improvise every riff for the movie. And I do mean every riff. Later shown in the MST scrapbook, they will watch a movie and write down jokes with the film's timecode on the side so the riffs can be funny and the timing perfect. However, in this season, they didn't have time to do that. So not only do you get riffs which aren't that funny, but you'll also get long pauses where they should be riffing. Plus, it doesn't help that the guys are seeing the movies for the very first time. Don't get me wrong, some of the riffs are good and clever.
All the actors form two lines, Love Boat on the left, Fantasy Island on the right.
But you get some boring, drawn-out pauses and lame riffs like this.
He's just walking around looking for something 100 times its weight to lift. You know, they can do that.
Looks kind of skinny. Must be a carpenter ant. Carpenter ant, get it? Carpenter ant. See, because...
Oh, no.
Never mind.
I don't mean that.
Anorexic.
See? Servo got it.
No, can't you see this? He's going for something serious.
They're trying to find a picnic. You know, ants can carry entire watermelons. And big chicken legs. Happened to the Flintstones.
I had a chicken leg once. I had to wear corrective shoes.
Honestly, I don't think this season is very good. If you were to ask me what my favorite episode was, I wouldn't be able to answer that because trying to watch an episode from this season is a slow crawl. The closest one I was able to get halfway through was Time of the Apes, but that's it. The other being the snippets that were part of the MST scrapbook. But despite the lack of writing and the jokes not being that good, the show was able to become popular on the local station. They decided to make a phone line to get messages from the audience. And while some were negative...
Enjoyed the movie, but really hated the constant interruptions that were on there. It's like being in a theater with a bunch of rude junior high teenagers. I hope you don't continue the program. Not in that fashion, anyway.
Some were extremely positive.
Great stuff. More! Give me more! One more!
The show was able to get a 21 episode run, but as we all know, all good things must come to an end.
I declare bankruptcy!
In 1989, KTMA was bought out to become a Christian broadcast channel. But these episodes had enough material for a pitch tape to send to the Comedy Channel, known nowadays as Comedy Central.
Pretty hokey movie, great commentary.
See what the controversy is about.
Yeah, I'd like to know who does your hair.
We'll let you decide. Mystery Science Theater 3000.
This worked and MST3K was picked up for cable. Plus, it helped the show to grow a fan base really quick. Like I said earlier, I really don't like this season, but I don't want to say that it's bad either. It is rough around the edges a lot of the time, but this is the start of a series I would later enjoy for 10 years. If you want to see a little bit of the season, you can watch either the MST scrapbook or the host segments on YouTube. But if you want to see the riffs of the movies, just watch somebody's best of video. So this week's off to a little bit of a rocky start, and like I said, I've been a Misty for 10 years now. So, come back tomorrow where you guys are going to be seeing my introduction to MST3K.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lawrence Earhart.
And I'm Dr. Clayton Forrester.
Pizza.
Pasta.
Pizza.
Pizza and pasta.
Pizza and pasta. Nothing artificial here. Real cheese, real meat. That's the Pizza and Pasta Pledge.
That's right. Our pals at Pizza and Pasta Pizza made this pizza for us so we could eat it at lunch.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Paul. Pizza and pasta. Good.
Pretty good pizza and pasta pizza, too.
Pizza.
Yummy noise. You made a yummy noise.
Made a yummy noise.
Because you're hungry.
It was the summer of 2008. I was channel surfing when all of a sudden, I came across this movie with a guy and some puppets watching a film. That was Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie, and my first ever exposure to MST3K. I talked a little bit about this in my tribute to the show years ago, and all I said that it was just a theatrical version of one of the episodes. Now for this episode, it won't be like any other of my reviews because honestly, it's not like I can also riff over their commentary of the movie, and to be fair, I think talking about the behind the scenes stuff would be more interesting for some of you. Also, it's important to bring up that not a lot of people like this movie. I'm of course talking about MST3K the movie, not This Island Earth the movie. Okay, you get the point. Hell, by the time you get to the halfway mark of the film, you realize that it's almost over. Well, why is this movie so short? So let's do some numbers here. An average episode of MST3K is about 90 minutes. This Island Earth clocks in at 87 minutes. However, MST3K the movie is only 73 minutes long. Well, why? Why is it that short? Well, the film's distributor, Gramercy Pictures, had another movie coming out the same time as MST3K the movie. That film was Barbed Wire. So they'd chosen the former instead of the latter. Why? Well, because it's a movie with Pamela Anderson, and she has
titties! Ass, titties! Ass, and titties! Ass, titties!
So because of that, MST3K the movie was only shown in 26 theaters. It doesn't get better when even Universal restricted the Best Range crew as well. They had to do a Universal movie, it had to be in color, and had to have a high budget. Why the last one? If you know the show, then you know the quality of the riff is higher than the quality of the movie they do a week. So, why would a movie with a high budget change anything? The fact that any movie that they did on the show that was shot in the dark or had an incoherent plot would make the comedy that better. But if you have a movie with a high budget and has an easy enough story to understand, won't give much material to work with. Of course, This Island Earth is very dated and cheesy, but if you compare it to any film that was on the show, it's a godsend. It looks good, the effects for the time are decent, the performances from the actors are alright, and has a passable story and the characters are compelling. Even Exeter has a good arc and understandable motivations. Every movie that was on the show had to be trimmed down for time, but the crew always tried to preserve the story of the films so the viewers can understand what was going on. It also helps ward off critics who would step in and say, well, that scene was taken out of context. Keep in mind that This Island Earth had a runtime of 87 minutes. It had to be squeezed down with not only the movie's 73 screen time, while also giving time for the host segments. Let's be clear about one thing. This Island Earth is not a timeless classic, but it's not on the same level of bad movies that were on the show. It's just a run-of-the-mill popcorn flick. It also doesn't help with the references they do here. They try to make them wider and understandable to a general audience member, but they later on reference something from one of the movies that was on the show that a majority of people won't get. And to add insult to injury, two of the best host segments were cut out, all for the sake of runtime. One of them was Mike and the bot seeking shelter during a meteor shower. The SOL is then hit as Mike's oxygen starts draining fast. Thus, Gypsy, Tom, and Crow have to save him. It was amazing and a great character moment for the bots instead of being tools for riffing movies. Even the reaction from the fans was incredible. And then it was cut out just like Thanos snapping his fingers. Even the original ending of the movie was cut too. It had Tom distracting Dr. F, while Mike, Crow, and Gypsy come up with a plan to get revenge on him. Again, it had the crew on the SOL working together as a team. It had everything from the show and was able to tie it in with the movie.
Well, that takes care of Forrester for the time being. Everyone okay? Gypsy?
Yeah!
Tom, you alright?
You bet.
Crow, how about... Crow? Where's Crow?
It's a long way to Tipperary. Oopsie.
So let me get this straight. These two host segments, which together were 7.5 minutes, was it really worth cutting out because you couldn't add a few more minutes to your runtime?
What a couple of dickweeds.
Now with everything said in this video, you must think I don't like it nowadays. No, not really. There are some good stuff about it that I enjoyed. The riffs most of the time are hilarious.
Not since Ted Kennedy in a Barney suit.
I love how you get to see more rooms in the Satellite Love. The door sequence is an actual hallway instead of a miniature set. By the way, it took me a long time to realize that this is supposed to be a tribute to TV's Frank. And probably the coolest thing was when they got to riff over their own credits.
This is Orson Welles. A good cast deserves another mention.
In the event that the first assistant director is unable to fulfill her duties,
Big Scahill and his big band.
2 Bransicks in one film, what are the odds?
Puppet Wranglers? There weren't any puppets in this movie.
So yeah, even though the behind the scenes of making this movie was absolute hell, I still really liked watching it because if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't even know what MST3K was. I've been a fellow Misty now for 10 years because of this movie, and I am glad that I saw it as a kid. It's kind of like the most latest season on Netflix, drawing in new fans while hopefully they go back to watch the older episodes to see what made the show so popular to begin with. That probably won't happen for most people, but that's what I did. Even though I still like the movie, I know it won't please everybody, but hey, what can you do? Well, come back tomorrow as we count down my favorite MST3K host segments.
What is it about Pop Secret? How come that rich, buttery aroma seems to drift a little too far? Those kernels pop a little too loudly. And why, when you pop up every big, fluffy bag full, people pop up too? Pop Secret popcorn, so irresistible you can't keep it a secret.
We all know the most popular part of MST3K is when they watch the movies and make jokes. But the second best thing about the show is the host segments. This is where the characters interact with each other and sometimes talk to them as, or spoof parts in the movie they're watching that day. But which host segments are the best? Which are the ones that fans remember the most? Well, that's what we're going to find out here today. So, in my opinion, these are the top 10 MST3K host segments. Crow gets ran over by Tom. Like in the movie they're watching, Zombie Nightmare, someone got hit by a car drove by a couple of teens. It happened the same way to Crow while he was reading a book and eating some chocolates. As Tom was oblivious to the whole thing.
Ah! Huh. I sworn I hit something. Oh well.
But it's later followed by the two relaxing in the hot tub. In fact, let's make that a 10.5 the more I think about it.
Great.
Yeah, hardly feel those injuries I sustained when you ran me over.
Let me just say, I am totally relaxed.
Servo, stop that.
What, Crow? Huh?
Stop it, you nutty nut.
Crow, I'm not doing anything.
Oh!
Hey, guys. Dinner?
Gypsy doesn't get Crow. Another simple one. While Crow's making a papier-mâché boat, Gypsy comes up and says one thing to him.
Crow?
Yes?
I don't get you.
Oh.
Are you mad?
No.
Good.
But to make it hard, Gypsy honestly doesn't know why she doesn't get Crow, so he helps her listing off some possible reasons.
Is it that I often panic while making sandwiches?
Yeah, well, maybe it's that kind of thing.
Is it that I smell conspiracy and everything and I don't know what I mean most of the time?
Well, that's perhaps a small piece of the puzzle, but I...
Gypsy, is it an odor?
No. Well, no.
But then it comes to Gypsy that it might be Tom that she doesn't get, so she confronts Tom to tell him, but comes back with this response.
Tom?
Yo.
I don't get you.
Nobody does. I'm the wind, baby.
The SOL TV skit. During this episode, Pearl and her crew are stumbling across a trio of space children. So she turns to Mike and the boss to pull on a public TV style kids program. And how it starts, they're easily invested.
We'll have fun on the satellite of love today. Hi, kids.
Hi.
I'm Crow, the cow. And this is Tommy, the timid tuna. Right, yes.
Also, if you think a Sesame Street parody being delivered by puppets isn't funny to you, I don't know what to say.
Today we learned A and 3. Today we learned A and 3.
The first act of the segment was meh, but the second act is what everyone remembers from this.
Muchachos, véanse para la propia bolsa. ¡Rompelo! Y ahora me gustaría presentarse una letra muy especial. Agua. Agua.
There are no words to describe this, but I will say that Mike was having a lot of fun with this one.
¡Cine del cine! ¡El Cronus Horror!
Meteor shower. Yes, I know I talked about the segment in yesterday's video, but I thought this one was worthy enough to make it onto the list. Not much to say here, just check it out on the Blu-ray DVD combo from Shout Factory.
Servo! Mike is going to die!
Of course. What was I thinking? Mike! I'm coming!
All the host segments from Soul Taker. Yeah, I couldn't pick just one part from this episode, because this has a lot of memorable segments. By the start of the episode, Mike and the bots begin to notice some major malfunctions on the Satellite of Love have started after 10 years, like commercial sign isn't working, Cambot's transmission starts cutting off, the doors got stuck when it was movie sign.
Hey, what the? Oh, now these stupid doors.
Try manually, Mike.
Well, I guess we just can't watch the movie.
The hex field view screen got stuck, the satellite starts going down, and Gypsy was getting affected by everything that was going wrong.
Just thought I'd let you stupid idiots know.
Yeah, stupid idiots. Gyps, did we do something to offend you?
Oh, cram it, you meat puppet. I don't have time for your constant whiny crap. Wow.
But there is some good that comes halfway through the episode. Down at Castle Forrester, a Soul Taker comes and starts attacking Brain Guy and Bobo, but when Pearl confronts it, she's surprised by a familiar face.
I don't know who you are, but get your soul pinching paws off my monkey.
Hey, Pearl, how's it going?
Jeez, Frank, is it really you?
Come here, Pearl.
Frank, I thought you were dead.
I am dead.
Now, seeing Frank in this episode is amazing, but trust me, it gets better. On the SOL, everyone notices that they're stuck in a mysterious ship's tractor beam, but as the bots start panicking about the whole situation, a mysterious figure comes onto the satellite.
Who are you?
Look! Behold!
Oh, it's just Joel.
Yeah, you're gonna get
Hey,
that.
guys.
Joel! It's Joel! Hooray! It's Joel!
Joel back.
Oh, it's good to see you, man.
Thanks. Crow, your voice kind of sounds different.
Wow, weird.
Oh, I get it. You changed your bowling pin. Smart. And Tom, it's good to see your hover skirt still operational. It's just great to see you guys all bright and shining in proper working order.
See you too, Joel.
I think I can agree with everyone by saying that Joel's entrance onto the satellite was freaking awesome. I do admit that it would have been cool if he watched the movie with them, but this is still incredible nonetheless.
Actually, it turns out, by the time I'm making this video, they're actually doing that as part of the 30th anniversary tour. So yeah, we're finally seeing that happen. It just took us waiting a couple of years.
Well, you better get going there, Joel.
Hey, what about us? Can you take us with you?
No, I don't really want to.
Why?
Why?
Well, I'll tell you why, because the years I spent here on the Satellite of Love were the best damn years of my life, and I wouldn't want you mugs to miss a minute of it.
Really?
Yeah, really. It made a man out of me, and maybe, just maybe, if you're lucky, it'll make a man out of you, too.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
You get going, and I'll stay here, and I'll get busy being a man.
That's right. I knew there was something I liked about you, Mike. And you two bots, you just keep them flying and remember Joel, all right?
All right,
Joel. Sorry, Joel.
Goodbye,
There goes Joel Robinson.
Yeah. Just let yourself out. Right out there, yeah.
The Creepy Parade. Yeah, about time I get to a host segment from one of the newer episodes. After seeing the Nightmare Parade from the movie, the bots decide to do it on the bridge, but only results in Jonah getting terrified on the events.
What are you guys doing? What's happening? Why are you messed up? What? Hello? Okay, seriously, what's... You guys are scaring me. Answer me, what are you doing? What's happening?
And it escalates to Kingo and Max getting creeped out by it as well.
What have we done to offend thee?
Answer me! You guys are scaring me!
Who must we kill to slake thy anger?
Once again, there's not much to say here. It gets funnier when it keeps going.
Oh no! We got movie time. Come on, we gotta go.
Joel and the Bots breaking down. By this time, the show is at 3 seasons, and they've done some bad movies like Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, Robot Monster, The Unearthly, and the majority of Sandy Frank films. But this movie, The Castle of Fu Manchu, broke Joel and the Bots. At the start, all is well in the SOL, but then the Mads send the movie and they begin to watch it. After a while, the badness of the movie starts to take effect on the bots. Joel tries to cheer him up, but it starts to break him too.
What's the use? Why am I up here? What are you doing, Cos?
It even starts to happen when they're watching the movie.
By this time, my lungs were aching. Oh, who cares?
By the end of the episode, they were finally traumatized after one of the movies that were sent to them.
Oh, what's the use?
But as Dr. F and Frank are celebrating, Joel comes down with a successful "You suck" speech.
Well, Jolie, you and your cyberpunk should be ready to admit defeat right about now.
You haven't won, Dr. Forrester. You've lost. And I feel sorry for you. You're nothing but a sad little man in a hole in the ground that can only feel power by hurting others. Well, we've won because we've survived. And we've survived because, well, we're Robinsons, roughly. And that's what Robinsons do, is survive.
Joel then challenges the Mads to watch the movie, and they take his bet. It doesn't go well.
Now I'm walking down the hallway.
Oh, she's, what a dickweed.
Oh, yeah, bite me. Oh, there's some things that are really, that you could make some comments about.
You certainly could.
You could really, oh, and she's turning around. Maybe we ought to...
Turn it off! Turn it off! Well, until next time, crazy Guggenheim.
You know, we could have made funny comments, but the movie wasn't that good.
Frank!
Gotcha!
This segment was outstanding. If you want to see Joel and the Bots break but win at the end, check this one out. The Christmas host segments. Yeah, I just had to put these on the same slot on this list. And since Christmas is right around the corner, I figured the timing couldn't be more perfect. Let's start with the first Christmas episode, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. This episode is a classic to even be part of the Essentials and Singles Collection DVDs. But I think we all know it for a little jingle known as, "Let's Have a Patrick Swayze Christmas." What started as a little joke during the Adventure Exchange with the Roadhouse board game became a Christmas song written by Crow.
This can be the Swayze-iest Christmas of them all.
Next is Santa Claus from Season 5. This one came at the end of Mike's first year on the SOL, and this was also his first time not being home for the holidays.
You know, I miss the change of seasons. You know, up here on the satellite, it's just 365 days of nice weather, and that's okay, but I miss the crisp air and You know, I miss putting on a sweater and going outside. And you know what I miss most of all? I miss the pure beauty of a snowfall as it piles up as Christmas draws nigh. What? Whoa! Emma, give me rocket number 9.
Now, is it impossible for it to snow in space? Yes. Should you be questioning it? No. Besides, Mike and the bots are going to have a snow day, and there's nothing the Mads can do to stop them.
Hey, mad fools, we're not going to be around a while. I'm going to put on my spacesuit. We're all going outside, and we're going to build a snow fort.
Finally, we have the most recent one, The Christmas That Almost Wasn't. This one mimics the dropping off presents montage in the movie, as Jonah, the bots, and the Mads are opening up Christmas gifts. Not much here to say on this one, other than it makes me smile every time. All 3 of these episodes give me that warm fuzzy feeling, and always makes me say, man, that's Christmas. Every country has a monster. This one's higher on the list mainly because it's a personal favorite. The segment begins with the bots being confused about there being a Danish giant monster, so Jonah explains it through song. Since this was the first episode of the show's revival, it was very surprising that there would be a musical number in the premiere. A rap song nonetheless. Now think about these key words: MST3K and rap. You would think it would be really cringy, but surprisingly, it turns out to be actually pretty damn good. It's one of my favorite songs from the new season, right beside the new opening theme. Hell, when Jonah starts rapid firing the names of the monsters and their homes, I was able to do it twice with some practice.
Guter, Gleben, Glauten, Kroben.
What turned the musteers' guts to spaghetti?
Was in Tibet.
Yep.
Betty met a Yeti.
Australia.
There draw bears will impale ya.
Then they'll sell ya hella touristy paraphernalia.
Chupacabras chewing up cattle down in Mexico. Del eats horse corn, battle in the Navajo. Congo's Congo is a Mongo flying dino. I don't want to die, but when I do, I'll be the guy.
Whoa!
I even got some good feedback from the members of the MST3K Revival League fan group on Facebook. Thanks, guys. There's nothing like a good song to go along with a good host segment.
Yeah, we've got movie
And the number 1 host segment, in my opinion, is all the host segments from Diabolic. I know it kind of feels weird to put the host segments from this episode at number 1, but keep in mind that during the time this premiered, and before the revival, this was the last episode of MST3K. It all starts when Pearl begins to mess with the SOL with a joystick, but it breaks, causing the ship to begin landing procedures, which for Mike and the bots, that means...
This means we're headed to Earth!
Earth, that's my home.
Yes,
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, Earth.
To Earth!
Pearl, on the other hand, isn't very thrilled by it. Oh, so this is where Kylo Ren got it. During the breaks from the movie, the crew on the SOL start to pack up for their trip, as Crow starts to feel nervous to go to Earth because, let's face it, the only home he's had was the satellite. So to cheer him up, Mike, Gypsy, and Tom sing a song.
To Earth, the very birthplace of my birth. The thought of Earth fills me with mirth.
Hey, maybe we'll meet Colin Firth.
That is a possibility.
Now that the movie's over, it's time for the satellite love to land on Earth, but it starts to burn up on re-entry. They try to get help from Pearl, but she's already cut her transmission from the SOL. Thus, everything blows up and the ship crashes.
We're all gonna die! Mike, have you seen my other sweater?
Okay, if it just ended on that white screen, it would have been the saddest ending to a show along with David the Gnome. Actually, they all survived the crash. Gypsy made her own company named Con Gypsco. Mike, Tom, and Crow all lived together in a small apartment while settling in to watch a bad movie on TV as they begin to riff it like old times.
Would you sit down? The movie's about to start.
Come here, dummy.
WTMJ TV in Milwaukee presents our Saturday afternoon movie, The Crawling Eye.
The Crawling Eye, the Marty Feldman story.
Oh, Forrest Tucker. He's the guy that makes sure the tree's shirt tails are in.
This movie looks kind of familiar, doesn't it?
So that was the top 10 host segments. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have a favorite one that you would like to share, well, leave it in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another countdown list that... I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna hurt.
And I should be delighted to confound him with scientific facts that he declared were impossible.
How do you explain head cheese?
So I came up with this.
Well, I thought there'd be more music.
Wow, it's really annoying.
Thank you.
Mystery Science Theater 3000. The future of television today.
You know, this show has done some bad movies for now 30 years, but trying to limit it to only 10? I don't even know where to start! Sure, they've done some movies that were bad, but most of the time, the films they showcased were horrendous. So let's see if I can survive this video to count down the absolute worst movies. So without further ado, this is the top 10 worst movies featured on MST.
Hold it right there, Nostalgia Kid.
Yeah, I should've saw this coming.
I know exactly what you're gonna be putting on your list, and I'm calling it right now. Manos the Hands of Faith is gonna be number 1.
You do know I may or may not have put Manos at number 1, right?
Rog, I know for a fact that you're gonna put this at number 1 of your list because everybody and their mother already put this as their number 1 choice. So my theory is rock solid. So,
This is the top 10 worst movies featured on MST3K.
What's the use? Why am I up here? What are you doing to us?
It's madness! It's madness! It's madness! It's madness!
Merlin's Shop of Mystical Wonders. This one's lower on the list due to it not being that bad, but the film has one glaring issue. It's actually a sloppy recut of a movie called The Devil's Gift, which is also a ripoff of the short story The Monkey by Stephen King. The Devil's Gift is actually a horror story about a possessed toy monkey that kills people when it crashes its cymbals. Think of it as a combination of Child's Play and Monkey Shines, except it's lame. In the original cut, the whole family dies. This version tries to tie it in with Merlin saving the day at the end. There's also a story tacked on at the beginning with some asshole critic where he messes with Merlin's spellbook and becomes a baby.
So pretty much these two stories are horribly put together, and adding Merlin as the narrator makes it kinda hard to understand.
You could say that. And to make matters worse, this is all being told as a bedtime story. That's right, this whole thing is framed as a story being told by an old man to his grandson. So, stuff like this.
Then the cat's flesh was roasted.
Grandpa, no.
Sit down, you're gonna listen. His flesh melted and his horrible screams.
Is perfectly fine for children. Yeah, this is all supposed to be a kid's film.
Good lord!
Monkey, oh. A car coming, oh, flaming cat, oh, horrible. Dog dying. Mean psychics, oh, grandpa, oh, no. Madness! No! It's madness! It's madness! It's madness! It's madness!
Monster Go-Go. According to the MST3K Amazing Colossal Episode Guide, Best Brains writer Paul Chaplin said, any topic that's about something, that is, any topic that exhibits topicness, cannot, by definition, have anything to do with this movie. So yeah, I can't add anything more to what he said. Because, honestly, what the hell can anybody say about Monster Go-Go? This film has negative meaning. There's nothing here. While most of the movie is just a cheesy monster flick, it has the infamous ending that was a huge slap in the face.
As if a switch had been turned, as if an eye had been blinked, as if some phantom force in the universe had made a move eons beyond our comprehension.
As if we
Suddenly,
cared.
there was no trail. There was no giant, no monster, no thing called Douglas to be followed. There was nothing in the tunnel but the puzzled men of courage who suddenly found themselves alone with shadows and darkness.
So wait, there was no monster throughout the whole entire movie despite calling it Monster A Go-Go? What a freaking load!
The ending of the movie should have had a giant middle finger come up with text that said, "Now we have your money, ha ha ha." And if there was anything I can add, well... Okay, there's a scene where a phone rings, and you know the brrr sound that people do to pretend that they're on the phone? Well, they actually do that in the movie.
Unbelievable.
Colonel Connors. Yes? I made that phone noise.
Jeez Louise.
Madness! No! It's madness! It's madness! It's madness! It's
The incredibly strange creatures who stopped living and became mixed up zombies.
Jeez Louise, is that a long title? I mean, what if they had a sequel? It should probably be called The Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Stopped Living and Became Mixed Up Zombies, now featuring Dante from Devil May Cry.
And then the newer one would be The Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Stopped Living and Became Mixed Up Zombies, now featuring Dante from Devil May Cry. And Knuckles.
Oh no!
This was advertised as the first monster movie musical. But here's the thing. The musical numbers have nothing to do with the story and brought little to what this movie calls a story. Not to mention that every character in the movie, including our hero, are complete, whiny, and unsympathetic assholes. Even has a racist portrayal of a Renami woman. This movie is a mess, but it's not boring. Some of the scenes are trippy that it can be a freak out, or even a super freak out!
madness! It's madness! It's madness! It's madness! It's madness!
The Beast of Yucca Flats. What even happened in this movie? Well, I think we all know what.
Nothing! Absolutely nothing!
There is nothing in this movie. Not even the characters are in this movie. People do die in this, but there is zero reaction to them being killed. They're just like, oh, okay, I'm getting strangled. This is my fate. Wake me when my check is in the bank.
Apparently I'm dead. Oh.
What's worse is this narration that tells us pointless facts and stuff that we wish we saw. What's the golden rule of filmmaking, boys and girls? Show, don't tell. For example, the narrator tells us that Javarsky was a kind and intelligent soul, and it's ironic how he's now a violent beast man. That would be fine if we knew him before the incident happened. Add in long shots of cars parking, people walking, and just emptiness, you have a movie that's more boring than Twilight and 50 Shades combined.
We're doomed! We have been forsaken! Madness! It's madness! It's madness! It's madness! It's madness!
Wizards of the Lost Kingdom 2. This one may be personal because, I don't know, something about this movie just got under my skin. Maybe it's because the young apprentice looks like a teen with a 30-year-old man's face, which took me until now to realize that it's Melvin from Tremors. Maybe it's the bumbling teacher who I'll dub Gandalf the Gut. Maybe it's David Carradine who needed a paycheck. Or maybe it's due to that this doesn't at all feel like a sequel to the first one. Hell, even Jonah joked about it during the opening narration of the movie.
And this is definitely a sequel, not a completely unrelated movie that we slapped the beloved Wizards brand on.
Nothing to say here, but man, this movie just somehow makes me cringe.
Oh!
It's actually not looking that bad.
You're kidding, right?
Madness! It's madness! madness! It's madness! It's madness!
EGA. This is one of many definitions for a so bad it's good movie. EGA is all it has hype to be. It is an awful film with some of the most ludicrous scenes, dialogue, and performances to be seen in film. And not to mention, it's a whole lot of fun to sit through. Thanks to MST3K, EGA has gotten a little bit of a cult following. Hell, they even named a tour from last year after the famous line in the movie.
He left the road right here. Watch out for snakes.
Who said that?
Once again, not much to say here. Just go ahead and check out this bizarre film.
Oh, double poopy.
Yes! 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 Madness! It's madness! It's madness! It's madness! It's
Hobgoblins. Yeah, this one had to make it onto the list. This has everything for a generic monster movie, and the fact that this is a ripoff of Gremlins even shows. But the problem is the film is not being that fun to watch. And just like the Incredibly Strange Creatures, everyone here is an asshole who you can't sympathize with at all.
Whoa, everybody have sex tonight.
Everybody throw up tonight.
The movie has a little bit of an identity crisis because it doesn't know if it should be dark or funny. And no joke, Rick Stallone submitted the movie to be featured on the show. Did he even know what the premise of Mystery Science Theater was?
You're the expert on that.
I guess he may be a fan of the show because he stated that the episode was pretty good right up until Mike and the Bot started making fun of him.
Can we just please talk about your film?
Certainly, my film, yes.
Yes. Okay,
Right.
when you came up with the idea for Hobgoblins, were you high on crack? Say yes.
Yes. I had been doing quite a bit of crack that day, as I recall.
Yes, good. That helps me understand, if just a bit. Now, another question I'm sure everyone who has seen the movie Hobgoblins has on their lips, and forgive me if I don't phrase this in just the right way. Are you, in fact, a total idiot? Say yes.
Yes, I am an idiot, that is correct. How penetratingly intelligent of you to notice.
He said that he never saw them going after a director before. Again, has he ever seen the show? They've done this before with Coleman Francis, Sandy Frank, Ed Wood, the list goes on. It wasn't all bad for Rick though, because with the popularity of this movie, it got a sequel in 2009. I will show some clips from the movie, but yeah, I'm not spending that much for a DVD.
Hobgoblins, hobgoblins, what do you do with those hobgoblins? They're over here, they're over there, those darn hobgoblins are everywhere. Woo!
madness! It's madness! It's madness! It's madness!
Danger, Death Ray. This was a generic spy movie from France. The plot being a scientist made a death ray for his peaceful purposes.
Again, peaceful purposes.
But I think we all remember the movie for its amazing special effects. Oh my god! Oh man. What team do you think they got for this one? KB's or Toys R Us?
This set is at least 3 box tops.
Special effects by Billy.
These are not toys.
Even the last shot of the movie fails at being cool. Our not James Bond throws his communicator watch out the window, which lands in the pool. But rather showing the watch floating, they left the hand dropping the watch in the pool. Good lord. Nothing else to say except ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-da.
Madness! It's madness! It's madness! It's madness!
Manos, the Hands of Fate.
Ha! I knew it! I knew my theory was correct. I knew for a solid fact that Manos, the Hands of Fate is going to be number 2? Wait, I'm confused.
Yeah, shocking, I know. Because honestly, I don't think Manos is the worst movie they've done. Now, don't get me wrong. Manos is horrible. It's really bad. It's one of those movies that should have faded into obscurity, and it probably would have if it wasn't for Frank Conniff, aka TV's Frank, as he pitched the movie to be featured on the show's season 4 finale, and the rest is history.
You know, every frame of this movie looks like someone's last known photograph.
From the horrible acting, horrible direction, horrible dubbing, and shots that go on for far too long.
Do something! Gah.
But there's just something about this movie that grabs your attention, unlike many other films that were showcased on MST3K. The show coined the phrase, keep circulating the tapes, and this episode is a true example of that. And here's the thing about the movie. There is nothing out there like Manos. It's uniquely bad, and you'll never forget it after you've watched it.
This really bites.
So, wait a minute. If Manos the Hands of Fate was number 2 on this list, then doesn't that mean... Oh, please tell me that there's nothing that is worse than Manos the Hands of Fate. It can't be!
Well, it turns out that there is a movie they've done that is actually worse than Manos. Wanna know what it is? Some of you have already guessed it, but let's take a look.
Madness!
And the number 1 worst movie featured on MST3K is... The Castle of Fu Manchu. I remember finally watching this movie recently, and I could just tell that it would be a hard movie to sit through. Seriously, this movie's go rotten hell bad. From what I can understand from the story, there's a supervillain who wants to freeze the world's ocean, but he needs help from a dying scientist to do it. So he kidnaps a surgeon to do a heart transplant, but then there's a woman who tries to get revenge for her father? Honestly, I can't tell because this movie's a jumbled up mess. With how these scenes are edited, you would have thought that it was done by the same editing team from Catwoman. I know it seems weird to put this at number 1 out of all the movies they've done, but like I said in yesterday's video, this movie nearly broke Joel and the Bots.
Oh, what's the use? Why am I up here? What are you doing, Tom?
They can't even keep up their famous snark in the theater. It all dissolves into sobbing from the pain caused by this movie.
By this time, my lungs were aching. Oh, who cares?
Of course, when season 12 comes out, they may do a movie that's worse, but from what I've seen so far, The Castle of Fu Manchu is the worst movie featured on Mystery Science Theater 3000.
You know, we could have made funny comments, but the movie wasn't that good.
Are there any other worst movies that I've missed? Or do you have a personal worst that they've done? Well, leave them in the comments below, and please tell me how you survived.
You know, the more I think about it, maybe Manos isn't the worst movie on Mystery Science Theater.
Well, like I said, they may do worse in the future.
Alright, so what are you doing tomorrow?
I might check out that MST3K cartoon from 10 years ago.
Ooh, are you sure about that? I heard that one has a lot of negative responses.
Can't hear you. Already getting ready to watch it.
You do realize we're on video chat, right? Whatever. Don't say I didn't warn you.
It can't be that bad.
That looks like fun. Solitaire, I mean.
Right. I'm sorry, Tom. I see nothing here about a clown and Thanksgiving.
Well, it is a pretty old world book we found. Keep looking. I know I saw it somewhere.
Okay.
Hey, Gypsy, have you seen my... Oh, what are you doing?
I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, hi, Tom. I'm just calibrating the external thermocouple. It's a once-a-month thing.
Ah.
You know what's smart? This Magnavox digital CD shelf system that's incredibly powerful, compact, but what's really smart is this Magnavox 8mm Easy Cam that weighs less than 2 pounds. But what's really brilliant is this 13-inch TV with a built-in VCR. But what's ingenious is this 31-inch with a smart window that lets you see other channels and swap the picture. You know what's smart? This Magnavox digital CD... Again. Go away.
The ingenious products from Magnavox. They're smart, very smart.
2017 was a great year to be a fellow Misty, because it was the year that gave us a brand new season of Mystery Science Theater 3000. But did you know that this wasn't the first revival of the show? Oh yeah, we're going deep down the rabbit hole today. I'm talking about the MST3K cartoon, The Bots Are Back. This was first announced on October 19, 2007 via Satellite News, known nowadays as MST3Kinfo.com. The new cartoon was described as a weekly series of animated adventures, and would debut as part of an all-new MST3K website. The show only had 4 episodes before Jim Mallon canned it because he said it was too expensive to continue. And really guys, just look at this expensive animation. This looks like someone's first animation done in Adobe Flash. If I showed you a still from this cartoon, you would probably think it was from DeviantArt, but that would be an insult to many artists that have done amazing fan art for MST3K. Even though some are questionable, Mother of God, the voice acting isn't that good either. It just doesn't feel like the same characters that I've known. So that means no Kevin Murphy, no Trace Beaulieu, no Josh Weinstein, and no Bill Corbett. For Tom and Crow, here they're voiced by James Moore and Paul Chaplin. The closest that one of the characters feels the same is Gypsy, as Jim Mallon reprises the voice.
Oh, hi, Tom. I'm just calibrating the external thermocouple. It's a once-a-month thing.
So the cartoon is structured like one of the host segments from the original. And just like there, the bots hang out on the bridge and tell jokes. Or at least try to, because the biggest issue with this cartoon is that it's not funny. The jokes in this are either not funny or just one joke that they think is funny. The biggest example of this is the episodes Thanksgiving Clown and Real Fishing. Not to mention that there's a lot of dead air in this. It's nearly as bad as the KTMA season.
That looks like fun. Solitaire, I mean.
Right.
Could you imagine if this show had at least a third of the runtime as one of the original episodes? It would be almost as bad as one of the movies featured on the show. Like I said earlier, this cartoon ran for only 4 episodes and it got worse with every new installment. And judging by the dislike bar, Real Fishing can be the absolute worst one. What more can I say about this cartoon? It's awful. The animation is not appealing, the jokes are non-existent, the pacing is bad, and the worst sin about this is that it's boring. I wasn't able to make that many notes on it. If I could get real with y'all for a little bit, a normal amount of notes for one of my reviews is usually 3 or 4 pages. However, this was only half a page. I'm not even kidding. And if you think I'm just hating on this for the sake of hating something, well, I'm not alone here because even the fans reacted negatively to this, even to the point of where it was removed from the site altogether. Even Mike Nelson called this animated series cute, but felt that it was a after-the-fact idea. To be fair, this sounds like a good idea on paper, but the execution didn't turn out as well. So, with only 2 days left in the week, let's end it on a high note. Come back tomorrow where I'm going to count down my top 10 favorite episodes.
Hello, Sci-Fi Channel. This is Mike Nelson on the Satellite of Love, Lost in Space.
Yeah, Mike Nelson or Billy Movie?
Hey, come on, guys. I'm trying to access the Sci-Fi Channel's movie library. Think of it, their movies and Mystery Science Theater 3000. What a combo.
Hey, can I get fries with that?
Hold on, I'm picking something up.
Oh, not again! I've seen this one a million times.
Mystery Science Theater 3000 premieres Saturday, February 1st at 4 p.m. 1 Pacific.
I knew one of the videos I wanted to do for this week was a list of my favorite episodes, but I know it's hard for fellow Misties too. I can't blame them because since the show has returned, the number of each episode will keep growing. So for this list, I'm only narrowing it down to 10. Of course, these are my personal favorites as a fan. There's no official top 10 list. There's no such thing when it's all a matter of opinion. So let's begin. These are my top 10 MST3K episodes.
Oh, we got movie side!
This Island Earth. Yeah, I'm kinda cheating, but like I said before, this is pretty much a theatrical version of the show. Also, keep in mind that if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't even known about MST3K. So it's thanks to this movie that I have been a fellow Misty for slightly over 10 years now. But back to the episode. The thing about why they chose this is because the studio wanted to pick a movie that wasn't that bad. And like we stated earlier this week, the quality of a riff is greater than the quality of the film. There's just not much here for them to rip apart. However, there are parts I really like a lot. Some of the riffs are good here, the set design is great, and the fact that they riffed over their own credits is just hilarious. I've already talked about all this in my history of video, so there's not more to say here other than just watch it to learn more about my thoughts on this.
What did the committee say?
Oh, they were a little excited.
A little?
Oh my God, my waffle! Oh, the humanity!
I accuse my parents. This movie was a perfect choice for Joel and the Bots to riff on. An overachiever named Jimmy blames his boozy, neglectful parents for his run-in with the law. The film flashes back to a day in high school where Jimmy is given an award for an essay describing the ideal home that he supposedly has. He goes home to a house filled with empty alcohol bottles and parents distracted by arguing with each other. So, what does Jimmy do with a heavy issue like that? Lie to everyone he knows and meets, of course.
It's the way any other fellas is. The way a home ought to be.
A very happy home, obviously. I'm most anxious to meet your mother.
Oh, Mom's swell.
Liar! Liar! Liar!
Even when he meets a nice young woman, you would think that Jimmy would have the chance to talk to this person and tell the truth. But no, he still lies.
Not having anyone to come home to. Like a family.
That's right. Oh, when I open the door, why, Mom is sure to call out, "Is that you, Jim?"
Liar.
No matter what time of day or night it is. I get so I expect it.
Double lie.
Of course, I always tell her to go to bed when I'm going to be late, but she never does.
Big fat lie.
She worries about me, I guess. She can't rest until I get home.
He's a gifted storyteller.
Oh, she is.
Thus, our trio decides to dig deep into Jimmy's troubled psyche.
Oh, Cambot, if you will. Here we go. Now we've entered Jimmy's subconscious. As it spins and twirls to illustrate today's lesson that true Jimmy scale dementia is indeed a complex phenomenon.
Cause and effect, good luck. Here's drunk folks, but that's just a piece of the puzzle.
Hey, they're stupid. Really big.
So, what's the lesson here? Well, it's to be truthful, of course. Or else you get tied in with the mob, where you'll accidentally kill the boss, which will have gotten you almost thrown into jail for murder.
They laughed when I accused my parents and I killed them. Let's see if they'll be laughing now.
Space Mutiny. One of the many cheesy sci-fi movies that this show has done. But for me, this one's most memorable. Like the Joe Don Baker trashing hilarity in Mitchell, this time it's the sturdy Reb Brown. Just listen to some of the names they give him here.
Fridge, large meats.
Punt, speed chunk.
Butch, deadlift.
Flint, iron stag.
Bolt, Vanderhuge.
Thick, McRun fast. Buck, plank chest.
Stump, Junkman.
Dirk, hard peck.
Rip, steak face.
Slate, slab rock.
Crud, bone meal.
Slake, fist crunch.
Buff, hardback.
Bob Johnson. Oh, wait.
It's one after another with these, and they're perfectly timed for maximum laugh value. Something so silly, but so damn good. As for the movie itself, man is it bad. Poor production values, mostly stolen Galactica footage, horrible dialogue.
How could you know how I feel?
Listen, lady, I did what I had to do. Don't you think I realized a good man died? A man I respected and loved? Hey, I don't need this.
Wait.
They missed a couple of lines here.
And all the graphics make it look like it was from that Atari Star Wars game.
Some game!
It'd still be bad even if it had a budget. This movie's all kinds of terrible, but this episode is amazing, even to the point where it got the riff tracks treatment. What else can you say, but...
Well, anyway, got that out of my system.
Roll fizzle beef.
Carnival Magic. This is that type of movie that was a big hit in the 60s or 70s, but now it's terrible. And also comedic gold. The plot is about a carnival that's down in the dump, but that all changes with the help of a man and his pet chimp, Markov the Magician, and Alex who, whenever he's not doing his wacky hijinks, you can tell he wants some of that sweet freedom. The strangest thing in the movie is that Markov can make people do extraordinary things just by making them think that there's someone by the name of Gus.
You're right. Clarence can't bend that steel bar.
He is a pathetic wuss.
But Gus can. And you're Gus.
See, guys, I told you, he's Gus. I knew it the whole time.
Yes, must kill top official.
No, all I said is your name is Gus.
The power of Gus compels me.
I don't know what it is about it, but I think it's a great motivation for anyone named Gus. Also, this episode has one of many celebrity cameos for the season, and this one is Mark Hamill playing the traveling carny, PT Mindslap. But is it just me, or does his PT voice sound almost like his voice for the Joker?
You can take a hike. If anyone's exploiting these idiots, it is us.
Fine. Keep your robots. But this isn't the last you've heard of PT Mindslap.
Carnival Magic. And remember, if you can't do it,
Gus can.
Final Justice. This was the second time the SOL crew had to set for a Joe Don Baker movie on the show. This time, Joe Don plays a deputy sheriff in a small town in South Texas. But then his friend the sheriff is gunned down by two mafia hitmen who are trying to cross the Mexican border. Joe kills one of the hitmen and takes him to Italy for extradition, but they find themselves on an unplanned layover in Malta, the home of Guscio, friend of Maltese children. So now the lawman needs to deal with the mafia and to finish the job he started. There's not much to comment on this episode aside from that plot synopsis, because I think why I remember this episode the most is for all the jokes towards Joe Don Baker about his weight and hygiene.
How we doing tonight? Anything happening?
No calls.
Nothing up?
Nah, big fat nada.
That's me.
Think you can take me?
To a pizza place.
Superintendent Nixon would like to see you.
All right.
Right.
This episode has one of my favorite host segments, which I forgot to mention in my top 10 video. It's when Mike communicates to the bots through the Hexfield view screen and plans to leave the SOL like Joel did in Season 5. But Mike thinks that Joel escaped because he saw a bad Joe Don Baker movie.
I'm sorry, buddy, but you're not going anywhere.
Nope.
But I just suffered through a really bad Joe Don Baker movie.
Unrelated, Mike, sorry. You see, Gypsy sent Joel back to Earth in an escape pod she hid in a box of hamdingers.
Yeah.
There are no more escape pods, Mike.
You do know that you're sitting in the water heater, don't you?
Yeah, I know.
Come on upstairs, honey. We'll make you some Swiss Miss.
Well, how about if we see a really good Joe Don Baker movie?
Well, I think I can guarantee you that's never gonna happen, Mike.
Some of you may wonder why Mitchell isn't on this list. Well, that's mainly because I was still new to the show and didn't get that much into the episodes from the Joel era. I do enjoy Mitchell, but it's personally not in my top 10. That and the Final Justice episode was one of the first I got on DVD. So now, because I don't know how to segue to the next number on the countdown, here's the famous song from the end of the movie.
Or he'll steal your lunch. Your lunch. Cause he's got the runs. Cause he won't stop till he gets his lunch. Oh, your lunch. Oh, yeah. Woo.
Giant Spider Invasion. The movie's about a meteor that crashes in the backyard of this house owned by a family of rednecks. But then a giant spider emerges and begins to lay eggs that hatches tarantulas. The giant one doesn't come out intact until 50 minutes into the movie, according to the runtime of this episode. But when it does attack, it's either chasing people down like a parade float, or eating them through its butt. Or maybe it's its mouth? I can't tell because parts of this movie is really dark. Maybe it's due to the copy I got from YouTube, but this kill in the climax of the movie is 90% black screen.
Actually filmed inside the thumbhole of a bowling ball.
But hey, at least the host segments from this episode make up for my issues with the movie. It starts with Pearl, Brain Guy, and Bobo finding these weird pod-looking things as they're sent up to the SOL. But they notice that Gypsy's acting weird as the rest starts paying homage to both versions of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
That's not her, and whatever it is wants us to fall asleep. We have to stay awake no matter what.
Are you approaching a state of relaxing quality sleep yet?
Just about. I'll be right with you.
My favorite part, aside from the obvious
Package Wonder Super Bowl!
is seeing Crow jacked up on caffeine and trying to stay awake from becoming a pod creature like one of Gypsy's evil doppelgangers. Just one of many things to love about this episode.
What's that horrible thumping?
Yeah, it's my heart. I think I'm gonna blow.
Zombie Nightmare. When I got my hands on volume 15 for my 12th birthday, I was happy to add it to my little collection at the time. But the episode I watched a lot was Zombie Nightmare. The plot follows a boy named Tony, who one night was carrying groceries, but then is killed via a hit and run by these reckless teenagers. One of them being a young Tina Carrera.
Showing.
But Tony's mother has a plan to get revenge on those who did this, and that is to go to her friend who happens to be a witch doctor, resurrects Tony, making him a zombie, as he goes to kill those who did the same to him. Think of it as a 7-year early version of The Crow, except it's lame. I mentioned Tina Carrera is in this movie. She's not the only big name star here, the other one being the late Adam West. Although he doesn't appear in the movie until the first 45 minutes. But when he does, the guys are quick to do the Batman jokes.
What's this?
Come in.
Doogie Howser, detective.
We've got him now, and we'll find out just as soon as he talks.
Now, Chief O'Hara,
Bad boy.
Oh, that was easy for him. He just pretended it was Tim Burton. How you diddly doing?
Aren't you in the wrong neighborhood, little girl?
I'm Batman.
Looks like I missed the start of the party. Why don't you show me where the guests are going? Get in the car, witch.
Yes, Mr. Churchman.
Oh, is your Batmobile in the shop?
Shut up.
Also, I never thought I would be hearing Ace of Spades by Motorhead on MST3K.
He's gonna lose.
But that's the way I like it, baby.
And with that being said, you know this episode is awesome. All 3 Christmas episodes. Once again, like the host segments video, these episodes are on the same slot. Plus, with the holidays being right around the corner, it couldn't be more perfect. The movies they did in these episodes go as follows: Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, Santa Claus, and The Christmas That Almost Wasn't. Each movie has their own sparkle of weirdness inside them. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians doesn't have Santa conquering anything, rather he and 2 kids are kidnapped by the said Martians. Santa Claus is a weird Mexican kids movie that has Santa being in outer space, and the devil wanting to kill him, ruin Christmas, and turn all the kids from good to evil. Or else he'll have to eat ice cream. Not to mention these freaky ass wind up reindeer that just laugh when they get started. Well, I didn't want to sleep tonight. Finally, The Christmas That Almost Wasn't has Santa with the help of a lawyer needing to pay his landlord, whose name is literally Prune, by Christmas Eve, or he'll lose his home and Christmas will be gone forever. I honestly don't know what's stranger, Santa going on trial or having to pay rent. Even though the movies sound like the idea from a bong rip, the host segments are the highlight for what makes these episodes memorable for me, which I did talk about in my host segments video. These episodes, every time I watch them, always make me say, man, that's Christmas.
Dad. Dad. Dad, please. Dad.
The children! Who's not coming? I can't quite the voices get out of my mind!
Well, you know, Manos.
Right. Not in so many words.
You know, Manos.
Oh, yeah, I hear you.
I've already explained that I don't think this is the worst movie on MST3K, but this episode is still good. I first saw this episode via the Essentials DVD. This was one of the first episodes I saw from the Joel era, and it's one of my favorites. When anyone decides to watch Manos, they're not talking about the movie itself because it will be a slog to get through. They're usually talking about this episode. This movie has become popular because of Mystery Science Theater, that Torgo will pop in later episodes from time to time, and be played by Mike Nelson. Not to mention that it even got the riff tracks treatment.
You make me feel like dancing. Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Did you?
Before we go to number 1, I figured I'd talk about a few honorable mentions that weren't able to make it onto the list. Time Chasers, a time-traveling plane controlled by a Commodore and being flown by a man with a dinner roll taped to his chin. Ye-Ga, starring a caveman, a demon, and also...
Watch out for snakes.
Star Crash, an obvious ripoff of Star Wars which made people complain way more than The Last Jedi. This one I was really hoping for them to do when the show came back, and it was worth it. Prince of Space, a superhero who disguises himself as a bootblack along with some kids who like it very much. Must stop an invasion by a group of spacemen led by Crankor along with his And my number 1 favorite episode is actually a tie. But what are they, you may ask? Diabolic and Reptilicus. I feel like it's quite fitting to put the last episode we got, followed by the first new episode we've gotten in nearly 20 years. Diabolic follows around a famous thief who, along with his girlfriend, causes havoc in Europe for their own gain and amusement. Plus, Diabolic kills people and steals them of their riches. Yeah, to be fair, this wasn't that bad of a movie to end the series on. It was a generic thief go steal type of film. It did give me a few laughs thanks to the riffs, but seeing how this was the final episode for the Sci-Fi Channel era, it was very unclear that the show would ever continue. For me, this episode shines with the host segments, but like I said throughout this video, I've already talked about them before, so it isn't worth repeating.
The Crawling Eye, the Marty Feldman story.
Oh, Forrest Tucker. He's the guy that makes sure the tree's shirt tails are in.
This movie looks kind of familiar, doesn't it?
Then we get to the first of the new episodes we got in 2017, Reptilicus, a giant monster movie from Denmark, and this one is what you expect. Scientists studying the monster goes free and wreaks havoc, and they finally destroy it. Yeah, nothing new here for the Giant Monster series, and some people think this episode is pretty hit and miss. But for some reason, this episode always finds a way to put a smile on my face. From the new theme, the new movie sign, the Every Country Has a Monster song, and all the way to the credits, this episode has me grinning from ear to ear. Maybe it's just me, but I really do like this episode enough to put it at the number 1 spot.
Release the Reptilikraken!
Oh, go, Gypsy!
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, smash the herring factory!
Something is broken in the state of Denmark!
Yeah, the girl!
And that was my favorite episodes list. But of course, it might change seeing how this video is coming out around the same time as Season 12. And speaking of the new season, come back tomorrow as we wrap up this week and celebrate the 30th anniversary by taking a look at Season 11.
The New York Times spreads the news. Like a creature crawling out from the muck, Mystery Science Theater 3000 has staggered back to life.
Out of my way, air sucker!
Mystery Science Theater 3000, only on the Sci-Fi Channel. Premieres Saturday, February 1st at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Are you ready for Mystery Science Theater 3000 tomorrow? What do you think? Yeah, I was a little excited to watch the return of MST3K. Now, I don't say this about shows this often, but I'm just happy that this revival exists. A brand new season of Mystery Science Theater 3000 is something that Misties have been asking for years. And sure enough, we got it thanks to the Kickstarter announcement from Joel Hodgson himself on November 10th, 2015. Thus, in December of the very same year, the Kickstarter reached its goal of 14 brand new episodes with a grand total of $6.3 million. Then on April 14, 2017, Mystery Science Theater 3000 made its return on Netflix. You already know what I feel about this since I made 2 videos discussing both the trailer and the season as a whole in a vlog style review. So this may come as a shock to nobody, but I love this season. I've watched the whole thing about 3 times now. Just wanted to point out before I inevitably start gushing. Now for this review, I'm going to be using footage from the DVD set of the season. It is in standard definition, but I did try my best to make it passable for you guys. So, without further ado, let's wrap up this week by taking a look at Season 11. We begin with a prologue, In Space! As we meet Jonah Heston, played by Jonah Ray. He works at Gizmog Institute, just another mug in a yellow jumpsuit. As a bagjack driver, we see him returning with a load of valuable meteorites. But on his way back, he receives a distress signal from Moon 13, thus he lands on the moon to help, only to find out it was a trap devised by King of Forrester and TV's son of TV's Frank, or Max for short, played by Felicia Day and Patton Oswalt, who capture Jonah, places him on the resurrected satellite Love, and forces him to watch cheesy movies, the worst they can find. King has plans to continue her family's greatest experiment, Mystery Science Theater 3000, but unlike her father and grandmother who wanted to take over the world, she wants to sell the profits to Disney for $1 billion. I honestly really like how the season starts with a little prologue because we get a little bit more backstory of Jonah and turns out to be at the worst place at the wrong time. And also, the only thing of backstory we've gotten in the past was during the opening theme.
He worked at Gizmonic Institute, just another face in a red jumpsuit. He did a good job cleaning up the place, but his bosses didn't like him, so they shot him into space. They hired a temp by the name of Mike, just a regular Joe they didn't like. Their experiment needed a good test case, so they conked him on the noggin and they shot him into space. They try to survive the wrath of Pearl, just an evil gal who wants to rule the world. From her castle below, she sets her sights above, just to torture all her captives on the satellite of love.
So since Jonah is sent up to the SOL, that means he's introduced to the robot pals we all know. Cambot, Gypsy, Tom Servo, and knowing that the original voices wouldn't be here, that also means the bots are voiced by new people. Gypsy's voiced by Rebecca Hansen, Crow is voiced by Hampton Yount, and the only one I wasn't a fan of at first was Baron Vaughn as Tom Servo.
Sorry, my partner's a bit of a hothead. Hey, how'd you like a candy bar or soda? How about something creamy?
I'm fine, thanks.
It kind of reminds me of Josh Weinstein when he voiced a character during the KTMA series all the way through Season 1. It was very hard to get used to a new voice for Tom because, let's face it, no one can top Kevin Murphy as the voice. He's been playing Tom starting from Season 2 all the way through to when the show ended.
Jonah, give me huge grasping arms. My current design is less than optimal for Rock Hudson-style woman capturing.
And after a while, I got used to the new voice. And besides, I had to, right? Although I will say the person who was perfect for a part was Hampton as Crow. I've seen a little bit of his stand-up on YouTube, and I think he's hilarious. The voice he gives him is a mix of both voices that Trace Beaulieu and Bill Corbett have given him in the past.
My monster movie is more for a mainstream audience. A wacky comedy about growing up when you're already 200 feet tall. There's a scene with the whole monster family cracking jokes, and they're all played by Eddie Murphy. And of course,
I love
the whole
Eddie
thing,
Murphy.
Crowzilla will be a hit of the summer, creating synergy with him between all of our corporate subsidiaries. Next up, sequel, baby.
Becca Hansen as Gypsy is okay, but like Baron as Tom, it took some time to get used to. Well, at least it's better than
Bigfoot. Pelting the Nina, the Pinto, and the Santa Maria.
Santa Claus.
whatever that was. As for our test subject himself, Jonah, I knew that I would like him as early as the very first episode.
We really were hoping for more of a combination of Joel and Mike, which I think would be a lot like TJ Miller.
But we got you instead, and that hasn't been so bad.
Just like how Joel is a father figure and Mike is more like an older brother to the bots, Jonah is on the lines of being either a stepfather or an uncle to them. And I can totally see it.
Jonah, what are they doing to that android?
They're just playing with him.
Do they think he's full of candy?
Yes, they do.
And then there's the mutants, the poor, starving mutants who tear apart innocent androids who didn't even want to fight them, but were programmed to.
Hey, it's all right, guys. Hey, who wants ice cream?
You monster! You can't fix everything with ice cream, but I would like some ice cream.
But now it's time to talk about the biggest part of MST3K, the riffing. And well, when it gets halfway through the season, it's pretty good. but when the season started, it was a bit iffy. This was my biggest complaint when I first watched the season last year. The riffs in the early episodes had a rapid-fire pace to them. The biggest example of this was Reptilicus.
Are we suddenly in Chicago?
Die, 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 die. All right, everybody, we'll cross that bridge when it comes to us. Boom!
You might say that they're doing it so they can get even bigger laughs out of the audience. But while you're laughing, they're still making jokes, which will make you have to rewind to hear what they said, which is a constant inconvenience for these early episodes. However, when it gets to the 5th episode of the season, they do get to a much natural pace for the riffs. The movie selection for the season was very good too, and was able to give them some pretty great material for Jonah and the bots.
Make yourself at home.
Dick. This speech is my recital. I think it's very vital to rock. All right, that's right. It's tricky is the title. Oh my gosh, sorry, you're sleeping, Dad. Oh.
Danny looks on with the cold, dead eyes of a serial killer.
Chad, look out!
Whoa, be careful, Trey. God, don't hurt yourself, Bryce. Remember, we've got crew team in the spring, bra.
I meant to do that.
Better go change my Facebook status to orphan.
Let me go.
That's my purse. I don't know you. I feel like I'm watching a community theater production of Guardians of the Galaxy.
There you are, my friend. Match. A match.
Don't you know what this stuff does to your body?
I mentioned back in my tribute to MST3K that some actors have had interest in being a cameo for the show's revival. And thus we got episodes with guest stars like Neil Patrick Harris, Jerry Seinfeld, Joel McHale, and... But yeah, a few celebrity cameos is fine. I guess it can't get better than this. Wait a minute. I recognize that Volkswagen. No, it can't be.
It's Grandma! What? Grandma! Bobo, brain guy, you came!
Oh my god, it is! It's Pearl, Bobo, and Brain Guy. They even have Mary Jo File, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy. When I first saw this in the 2nd episode of the season, I had the biggest and dumbest smile on my face. Even though the Bobo costume kinda looks weird, but it's still cool to see them. Not to mention that the original MST3K writer, Paul Chaplin, came back to reprise his role as an observer for the season finale, which we'll get to later on. Seeing some familiar faces in the new season was great. Imagine if, say, Joel made a few cameos in the episode. Oh my god, it's Joel! Well, seeing how Joel is directing this season, he does make small cameos in some of the episodes, like being one of the scientists from the Time Travelers, and as Santa Claus in the Christmas episode.
Baby Whipple needs changing.
Ah, oy vey, not again.
Oy vey? Santa, are you Jewish?
Of course I am. I'm a manufacturer and distributor of children's novelties. I put the ho-ho-ho on Christmas and the ha-ha-ha on Hanukkah. Come on.
Why does that sound so familiar?
Wah, Santa, I need a changin'.
Oy vey, not again.
Oy vey. Santa, are you Jewish?
Of course I am. You see, I put the ho-ho-ho in Christmas and the ha-ha-ha in Hanukkah.
But the character he does play and has more time in the season is Artie. And for those who don't know, this is Artie.
Movie in the hole.
Well, aside from sending Jonah and the bots to the movies, Artie communicates with Kinga and Max about either issues on Moon 14 or that some of the movie had spilled out, meaning that parts of the film had to be cut for the episode's runtime.
I can show you what's missing. Looks like David Carradine is fighting a giant tentacled monster. Actually, pretty cool. Maybe could have saved the whole movie.
When the season gets to the last 4 episodes, it starts to have a small storyline. Now, MST3K and storylines isn't a new concept. They've had this before when the show transitioned over to the Sci-Fi Channel. I'm going to put a spoiler warning here because I'm not sure if many have seen the season yet due to not having either a Netflix account or on home video. So, skip to this time code. I'll give you a few seconds. Actually, some development started in the 4th episode. It's pretty much Max having a crush on Kinga, but when he's hitting on her in a subtle way, she turns him down every time.
Kinga, I had a dream about you last night.
Oh, remember when I asked you to tell me your innermost thoughts and dreams?
No.
Exactly.
When Max is writing in his diary, he remembers that he found some type of key. and when he turns it into the keyhole, out comes a metallic worm monster named, appropriately, Reptilicus Metalcus. Kinga is still worried about the show's ratings, so she gets the idea to throw a wedding, and the unlucky man is Jonah.
Jonah?
Jonah.
Jonah?
Jonah.
Jonah?
Jonah!
Thus, the day is here where Kinga and Jonah will be together in unholy matrimony. Pearl, Bobo, Brain Guy, and a shit ton of observers are there, some of them being Kickstarter backers. But before Jonah can say I do against his will, Max unleashes Metalcus on him as we see Jonah being eaten alive, which makes Kinga not very happy.
Max! You killed our test subject! This is no way to end a season! Oh! I am so pissed at you right now! Ugh.
But as the season ends with all of us left speechless, we see a man walking on the side of the satellite of love. A lot of people were quick to guess that it was actually Jonah. As shown in the later episodes, he was making a spacesuit so he could go on a spacewalk. You might be wondering, how is he alive? Well, a lot of people have made theories on this, but the one I'm leaning towards is that Jonah used the cloning machine that Crow had totally off camera in the Reptilicus episode. Thus, the clone Jonah, or Clona for short, was the one that got eaten, and Jonah was able to finally have his spacewalk. Then again, that's just me guessing. Keep in mind that by the time I'm making this video, I have not seen season 12, so maybe this was the explanation they went with. But hey, that's just a theory. A MST3K theory! Now this is around the time that people have skipped the spoiler warning, so let's talk about some of the smaller stuff from the season that's really good. A little over the second half of the season, Jonah decides to make two new robots, M. Waverly and Growler. Now don't worry, they don't riff the movies. They were more for the host segments, and were only there for a little bit. Growler plays the piano like Ralph the dog. As for M. Waverly... Oh, wow. But it was nice knowing him. Okay, to be fair, we do see them more in the new comic book, and we'll be seeing them more according to the still from season 12. As for the music for this season... Good lord, the soundtrack is just phenomenal. The new theme song is incredible despite not being sung by the hosts like Joel or Mike's. They do have original songs like Every Country Has a Monster, Our Love Is on Wings You Can't See, Push Past the Hurting, The Magic Inside of You, etc. But the majority is covers of songs from MST past like Wild Rebels, The Canada Song, Cloud in the Sky, and... Is that Let's Have a Patrick Swayze Christmas? Like everything else in the season, I had the dumbest smile on my face, and this is one of many reasons why. And the last song to mention is the new rendition of Mighty Science Theater, which is the music for the ending credits. This version is just beautiful. I like the soundtrack so much that not only did I get it on iTunes, but also on vinyl record. I don't have a record player yet, but it's still cool to show off nonetheless. Before we go to my obvious final thoughts, I figure I put the episodes in order to which ones I like more. Number 14, The Land That Time Forgot. This one is the lowest due to me not remembering this episode that much. No joke, I keep forgetting that they did this movie every time I watch the season. Number 13, At the Earth's Core. Very mad movie, some good jokes here and there, but man, the ending of this episode. Number 12, The Loves of Hercules. Another one to add to the amount of films the SOL crew have done on the Roman god. Number 11, Wizards of the Lost Kingdom 2. A movie that was able to get under my skin for some reason I still don't know why. Number 10, Wizards of the Lost Kingdom. A sword and sorcery movie with a drunk warrior, a young wizard, a walking carpet, and Thom Christopher from Deathstalker.
Damn him! He has beaten me this time, Bobino!
Apparently he won an Emmy. Number 9, The Time Travelers. Well, Kinga was right about this. This movie is slow despite it being an hour and 22 minutes. Number 8, Star Crash. You know, maybe it's just me, but I think this was supposed to capitalize on Star Wars. Also, BB Servo was pretty damn cute. Number 7, Cry Wilderness. A movie in the great outdoors with stock footage, bizarre dialogue that sounded like it was dubbed over, and an incomplete Bigfoot costume. Number 6, Avalanche. A disaster comes to ruin a ski resort. About 50 minutes in. But at least we have Rock Hudson forcing kisses on Fiamero, drunk old women, and Danny from the Time Travelers. Number 5, Yonggary. Another giant Japanese monster movie that MST3K has done. I haven't seen neither the Godzilla or Gamera films that were showcased, but if they're as hilarious like this episode, I'll give them a watch. Number 4. Carnival Magic. Markov the Magician and his monkey Alex, sweet freedom, take part of a carnival that looks kinda depressing, but at least we all learned the true power of Gus. Number 3. The Christmas That Almost Wasn't. You would never think that there would be a Christmas movie that has Santa needing to pay rent, or else the holiday would be gone forever. But hey, this episode is still able to give me that warm Christmas feeling inside. Number 2. Reptilicus. Even though this is my favorite episode of MST3K as a whole, I still have some gripes with it, which was one of my issues with the earlier episodes of the season. But I think my number 1 is where it gets better, and that of course being The Beast of Hollow Mountain. This is where the season starts getting good, fixes those issues, and gets to a more natural pace with the riffs. Not to mention that this whole episode is really damn funny. And there was my ranking for the episodes. So, overall, what did I think of Mystery Science Theater 3000 Season 11? Well, if you don't know by now, this whole season was just freaking amazing. Sure, it does have some flaws, but those were able to get fixed halfway through. The actors are great, the puppet work is amazing, the riffs are still funny, and the set design is still the same way it was before, but on a larger scale. This season was received so well that by the end of the 2017 Turkey Day Marathon, Joel announced that it was renewed for another season. Like I said before, by the time I'm making this, I haven't watched it yet. Well, that's the end of MST3K week. I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching. This is my biggest project that I've wanted to do for the 30th anniversary, and I think I did pretty good. So, if you guys would like me to do more of this next year, let me know. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to relax and get ready for Season 12. But until then, I'll see you next time.